Well, if ever there's a family that would understand that the first thing I did was get down here and fold up the box for short people to stand on. Just let me say what an amazing turnout this is. It's wonderful to see so many people here. And we all know that this family has had an amazing week with losses and celebrations of life, and to see all of you out here supporting them is really quite wonderful. So it's good, very good to see so many of you here. Jesus said, "Come to me, all you who are weary and carrying heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am humble and gentle in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." Friends, we're here together this afternoon because we knew and loved Theresa as a mother, a grandmother, a great-grandmother, a sister, an aunt, and a friend. And a bit of an inspiration, I think, to many people. And it's good that we're here together because we need each other. You've all lost someone you knew and respected or loved, and so you're with the right people at this time. Here we will face Theresa's death, but celebrate such a good, long, full life and show our love and support for Theresa's family. Today, you, her family, will gather good memories as you've been doing and these past number of days, as you tell and retell the foundational stories of your family. For Theresa and Dick, their lives touched many people. We have also come here today believing that all human life is sacred, that it is sacred in its being born, in its living, and also in its dying. Theresa's life was lived in its uniqueness with us and has now passed into the ultimate community of human existence. The gifts and graces which she offered are never lost to us. The creativity which she brought to us, and we have so much of her actual handiwork on display, and at the back there are some things that she's quilted. I'm wearing a quilted stole specifically because she was a quilter. And so we have these things, tangible things that we can touch to help us remember. And all the things that Theresa brought to us now moves into the future with us. Our lives have changed because we knew her. I would invite you into prayer. God, creator and giver of life, source of love and joy, we come into your presence to celebrate life, especially the life of Theresa. God, mysterious and mothering, you are as attentive as a hen with her chicks, and we find shelter under your wings. As we gather in the shadow of death, may we see the light and peace of your presence revealed in Jesus, in whose name we pray. Amen. Well, once again, welcome. My name is Glenda Wirt, and I am the minister at Trinity United Church in Picture Butte. There's certainly some familiar faces here that we see in and around Trinity. So on behalf of the congregation of Trinity, I thank you for coming and sharing this important occasion with the Papworth family. I am going to call on Cynthia now to come forward and share the eulogy for Theresa. Do you want me to put the short person?
Yes, please. What can I say? My girls are glad they got their dad's long legs. Hi. I'm very honored to read the eulogy today for a lady who was a lot more than my mother-in-law. She was my friend and mentor, and I'm sure that my other sister-in-laws and Jerry would say the same. We weren't just outlaws. She had a special knack of knowing and remembering all the little details about us all. This eulogy I'm going to read is a collaboration of memories by the whole family. Our dear mother, Theresa, was a wonderful wife, mother, mother-in-law, grandmother, great-grandmother, sister, and a friend to many. Theresa was born in Czechoslovakia in 1927, came to Canada in 1928 with her parents, John and Theresa Gergel, and her brother, John. She never returned to visit, and when asked why, she responded, "There's a reason why we came here." She was never one to look back. Theresa grew up on the farm near Turin and worked so very hard as a young girl, helping her parents farm, cook, and tend to many chores. She learned to fight her own battles. At a very young age, when riding to school in a horse-drawn wagon, she was called a bohunk by the boy sitting next to her. When the driver wasn't looking, she punched him right in the face. And needless to say, he never called her that again. Theresa found heartache early in life when her first husband passed away in 1949 at the time of her first son's birth. She and her new son, Johnny, moved home with her parents and helped take care of her younger siblings, Lillian and Jack. Jack passed away at the tender age of 18. During this time, her sister Lillian thought Theresa should get out and about and thought it should be to a school dance. Lillian really liked her teacher, Mr. Papworth, and invited him to the dance with a promise that he would dance with her sister. Dick agreed, and when at the dance, he asked Lillian, "Where is your sister?" Years later, he told the story of how he looked across the room and saw the most beautiful lady that he'd ever seen and said to Lillian, "That's your sister?" They danced that night, and it was the beginning of almost 60 years together. Dick and Theresa were married on November 20th, 1953. Richard was born in 1954. Dick learned of Richard's birth on a radio program while combining. Apparently, they used to announce them. Janet was born in 1956, Lawrence in 1960, and the baby, who was supposed to be a girl, Gerald, was born in 1963. They raised their 5 children on a large farm. Theresa had an incredible amount of energy and a tireless work ethic. She was well known for her amazing meals. Her fried chicken was the best, right, John? And turkey and stuffing, Richard, right? The stuffing? And the apple pies, right, Lawrence? And the best brownies, right, Gerald? I'm sure that Gerald got weekly brownies right up until his mom moved to Black Rock. Oh, and I forgot about the chocolate chip cookies and ginger snap cookies that only Gran could bake. Right, Amy? Yeah, there's a joke about that. It's okay. Her house was always spotless. She mended everything she could, even socks. Theresa tended a large, huge garden, helped with the livestock, and kept up with the maintenance on the farm. It was a normal day for her to get up at 5:30, put on coveralls, and out to butcher and clean a whole big deep freeze of chickens. That same evening, she would dress up and go dancing at the local hall, looking like $1,000,000. With everything she did, taking care of her family, working on the farm, working in the community, it's no wonder that her family and so many people who knew her saw her as a superwoman. Excuse me. They had a white picket fence around the large yard of their house on the farm. One year, when Dick went on his annual fishing trip, he came home to find no fence. Theresa and the boys had taken a sledgehammer to it and tore it down. She had really gotten tired of scraping and painting that fence. They didn't talk for 2 weeks, and Dick really missed his picket fence. In 1975, Theresa's parents announced to John, Theresa, and Lillian that their half-brother was coming from Czechoslovakia for a visit. She was in shock that her parents had kept this a secret. At dinner one evening, we asked her why she wasn't talking, and her reply was, "I'm still in shock." One of the few times Mom, Theresa, was ever speechless. Theresa was always willing and able to help out wherever needed. Whether it was babysitting for John and I while we were in the field or at work, or driving one of Richard and Gloria's sons to a hockey game when the boys played in 3 different directions, or getting up to Edmonton by time air on her own to help Janet and Jerry when Janet was ill, or out in Lawrence and Val's berry patch, straightening all the bushes by hand, or helping out Gerald and LaRonda with apple tree pruning, Granny was always there. After 40 years of farming, they retired to Lethbridge. Traveling and attending grandchildren's activities was the new norm, and they were available to help out wherever they were needed. Theresa really enjoyed watching her grandchildren figure skate, play hockey, and play baseball. She actually became a backup referee and umpire by making numerous calls from the sidelines and from behind the batter's box. I'm sure you'll hear a story about that later. Her grandchildren were gold in her eyes, and how dare someone call them out, or call a strike 3 on them, or even send them to the penalty box. That just wasn't right. When Theresa and Dick were no longer able to travel, their home was a special place for younger grandchildren to spend weeks enjoying Granny's extra special baking, love, and attention. She had a special relationship with each of her grandchildren and always remembered their favorite things. 20 years they spent in their retirement home, and like on the farm, had numerous visits from family and friends. It didn't matter what time of day you stopped by, you would always be invited to stay for a home-cooked meal with dessert and the possibility of taking something home for later. There was also plenty of treats, pops, and ice cream for the grandchildren, and always beer for the boys. Theresa has always been known for her generosity, always, and we can attest to her being a much better giver than receiver. As she got older, she would re-gift gifts to the next person who came to visit. Some examples are, Janet brought her a plant in a soup bowl, which Theresa then gave to Corey. Gloria brought veggie lasagna, which was then gifted to Georgia. John and I brought a poinsettia, which was then gifted to one of the staff, and so on and so on. You get the picture, right? She was really glad to get them. She just didn't need them, I guess. Theresa loved crafts, as you can see. Sewing, quilting, she made hundreds of baby quilts, and each one was stitched by hand. Many of you have either received one or know of someone that has. Theresa shared her love of quilting with Janet. She would often brag how talented Janet was and how well she quilted. And if you received a compliment from Granny, you knew you had done a great job. Theresa made all her children, grandchildren, and greats, as she called them, along with a few friends, the same large hand-quilted quilt. And they all look like that one over there on my left. All the same pattern, and we all cherish them. Theresa took so much pride in her craft, all the stitches had to be just right. I know. I tried to help her once, and I'm sure all my stitches were later replaced. Her wardrobe for most of her life was handmade, but not handmade in the sense you sometimes think. Hers were beautiful creations made with patience and talent. When their lives got really busy with conventions and politics, the dress shop in Pitcher Butte gained their best customer. Theresa was an avid member of the Sundial Handicraft Club, and several of her crafts, like we said, are on display. So please make sure you take the time to look at them. The club also published a cookbook, and whenever we asked about a certain recipe, the reply was always, "It's in the Sundial cookbook." One more. It's not filled with anything but water. Unfortunately. Theresa loved painting, not pictures and not fences, but buildings and walls. She painted at all her children's homes, every one of us, and very generously donated her talent to the Prairie Baseball Academy when it was first built. While painting there, the head coach suggested a color to paint, and her reply was, "If I'm painting it, I'm picking the color." It was only just a few weeks ago that she told us she really wished that she could get up on a ladder again to paint. Gran had a real green thumb and really cared for and pruned the evergreens and apple trees. Gerald and LaRonda are tending to her trees now, along with making her favorite jellies, pies, crisps, and apple juice. After Dick's passing, it was really hard for Theresa to move on alone, and it was a great blessing that Richard and Gloria got her Sandy, a small, cuddly dog who loved to sit on Gran's lap and also demanded a lot of her time. She stayed at their home as long as she could and took care of her new companion. And there's a picture of Granny and Sandy at the back. And now Georgia is in love with Sandy and keeps her in line. As her energy seemed to be running out, Theresa, with much convincing, sold her home and moved to Black Rock. The paramedics kept telling her that she shouldn't be alone, and she finally gave in. After more than a year there, her next move was to the West Highland Center. Theresa embraced new technology as it came along, everything from rotisserie barbecues and microwaves to enjoying videos and pictures on cell phones. She knew about Facebook, too. As Gran chose not to go out to family functions such as weddings, births, birthday parties, or first steps from greats, modern technology allowed the family to bring events to her through videos and pictures, and she so looked forward to keeping up with all of everyone's activities. We are blessed that she was such a wonderful matriarch. She truly gave us more than unconditional love. Just this last family day, as some of her family were leaving her room, she stated how lucky she was to have such a beautiful family. Truth is, we're the lucky ones. We all have our individual memories and stories of Theresa, so please stay after and share yours. We'd love to hear them. But we remember now in love your life from start to end. And we're just glad we knew you as a mother and a friend.
Oh, no, we'll let the grandchildren
Okay.
do that. Thank you so much, Cynthia. That was wonderful. I knew you were good in the kitchen. I am now going to invite forward Theresa's grandchildren.
I don't think I need this. I don't think I need that. My granny was one special lady, and the loss of her is felt deeply by many. The love of a granny is unique. God must have given grandmothers to us to liven up our lives, to make our lives more complete, to make us well-rounded and better human beings. She played a big part in my childhood, and I can remember so many times sitting in the kitchen, tasting the dishes she prepared with special love. She has never been just my granny, but my guardian, my friend, and my inspiration. A sight of beauty, hair and makeup, always flawless and dressed to perfection. But look out, if she was thinking it, she said it. She was blunt and honest with everyone. I may have inherited this strong trait from my granny. I was so lucky to have spent so much time with Granny growing up. Her home was my home away from home. As busy as she was, she always had time for us, whether we went shopping, watched Days of Our Lives, or played a game of Old Maid. Granny was the hardest working woman I knew. How on earth she had the time to do what she did still amazes me, and her hair never moved. Meals for the guys in the field, baking, yard work, weekly trips to get her hair done, house cleaning, shopping, Days of Our Lives, taking care of us, taking care of her chickens were just a few of her routine tasks. I loved feeding the chickens with Gran, and when it came time for them to go to the butcher, I insisted on going. She replied with a stern no. I wouldn't take no for an answer. I was going. Well, let's just say she was right. I shouldn't have gone. She found me curled up in the car, passed out sick, but she never said, "I told you so." Amongst Granny's many talents, quilting was one of her favorites. She always had a quilt on the go, working on it in her spare time. She made me my first blankie, which I still have. That blankie went everywhere with me. Sleepovers at my friends, and even overseas to Europe on my school trip. When it became beyond repairable, she just made me a new one. Something I didn't inherit from my granny was her amazing baking skills. Man, could she bake. Endless pies, cookies, and squares were always served at her house. My favorite was her famous melt-in-your-mouth ginger snap cookies. She knew I didn't bake or couldn't bake, so when I gave her advance notice I was visiting, I always went home with an ice cream pail of ginger snap cookie dough, but I had to bake them myself. My granny gave me years of moments that turned into a lifetime of memories. With the gift of years comes the treasure of knowing that there are many who love you dearly. The memories you've made with us will last forever. The tenderness you shared with us will never fade. The most wonderful gift you could ever give is a special part of you that now lives in each of us. And the truth your love has taught us can only be strengthened by the gift of time. For where roots grow deep, memories grow forever. Rest in peace, Granny, until we meet again.
Oh, Gran, a wonderful lady, friend, and mentor. I always wanted to be like Gran when I was growing up. No matter what she was doing, she always had to look good, no matter if she was out with the chickens, in her garden, feeding the hired hands, or doing her weekly trips to town. The stubborn part I was aware of, but I guess I definitely got that too, and a bit of her sassiness. She was always so busy, I don't know how she had time to look after us, let alone managing to feed all the mouths she had to. She always had time to quilt, knit, crochet, mend and repair clothes, laundry, reading us a book from the cool under the stairs library, or a game of checkers or Old Maid. I got to spend an awful lot of time with Gran as my older siblings went to school, and she taught me so many things. Gran's tickle trunk had so many memories from all the costumes. Kristen and I would always fight over these sequined gold heels, and neither of us could walk in them, nor did they fit us, but we had fun doing it, and we always dressed up as some sort of princess. She had a closet full of toys, toy guns, dinky cars, board games, and not to mention loads of Lego, which Kristen and I started. We converted the entire both her ping pong tables into Lego Town. Gran always had jobs for us around the farm, and she always made it fun. She either sang to us or hummed while we worked, and her voice wasn't that great because the dogs would howl. Weekly trips to Lethbridge, Gran would take my sister and I to Kidstown to shop, and Woodward's Cafe, where she always had cantaloupe and cottage cheese for lunch. When I was 15, I stayed with Gran and Grandpa during the summer I skated. And one morning we were running kind of late, and Gran was in a hurry to get me there on time. And she kind of almost ran a stoplight. She stopped in the middle of the intersection. And she's, Gran, she swore just a little bit. And she looked in the rearview mirror, and she's like, "Why didn't you tell me my eyebrows were blue?" And I was like, we were in a hurry, and she used the wrong liner. It was a big kerfuffle anyways. So she backs up the car. She forgot that she left it in reverse. The light turned green. She slammed on the gas, and we went backwards. Oh my gosh, what a morning. I'm just glad I got there on time anyways. Oh. She loved her curling and baseball and hockey, and when it was on, you better not talk to her or call her on the phone or anything like that. She'd probably just hang up on you. And I loved shopping with Gran. She always had such a great sense of style. And lucky enough, we have the same size of feet, so I got a lot of her shoes. I was also in my very first fashion show with Gran, and she was so proud of me, and I was only 5. Butte Dress Shop was always a spot she loved and went, and she loved all the ladies there, plus all the nice things that were there. And she was just so proud of all her grandkids and her great-grandkids, and would brag about us. Gran and Grandpa are together now. She's probably giving him shit, but I know they're both at peace and free of any pain. May you see God's love in the faces of family and friends. May you feel his love in every caring word, and may you know his love is the hope that is sure to come. Lord, lift up this woman before you. Father, know she is very special. Hold her tight to your chest. Make her aware of your presence and love at all time. Thank you, Lord, for the privilege of knowing and loving her. In Jesus' name, amen. Love you, Gran, and may you rest peacefully holding Grandpa's hand.
So I'm grateful for the relationship I had with Gran, for the love and support she gave and our time we spent together. We shared a love for farming. It has always been the one thing that kept us close. She checked in almost daily to get a farm progress report, and she's always been my biggest supporter. Gran, I can never thank you enough. I'll miss you. I love you.
So the year is 2008. I'm stuck on the Deerfoot, just starving, just got off of work. And I remember, I have one of Granny's apple pies in the back seat. So I have a piece, I have another piece, and traffic's not moving. I can't get off, so I eat the whole pie. And I'm just thinking, this pie was so good. I love my Granny. Can't wait to go back down. And then she must have felt me thinking about her, because she called me that night and she said, "Jeff, how many pie plates do you have?" I said, "Granny, I just have the one." "No, I gave you 2. I said, "Granny, I was just there 3 days ago." "No, you've got 2. You need to bring those back. You've had them for too long." I said, "Okay, I'll bring them down next time I'm down, Granny." So the next day, Richard calls me. "Jeff, do you have 4 pie plates for Granny's?" "No, I just have the one. I just finished it." "Well, she thinks you have 4, or 3 or 4. I said, "Dad, should I bring these down tomorrow? I don't know what's going on. What's so important?" "I think she's out of pie plates," he says. I said, "Well, maybe you should just call her." So I called Granny. I said, "Granny, I found your pie plates. I broke all of them." "Oh, Jeff," she says. I said, "I guess it's okay." I said, "Granny, I'm just joking." "But I'm in Calgary. Do you know that, right?" Oh, yeah, you're Jeff. Oh, yeah, okay." It's just little things like that we're going to miss.
I have to say, one of my favorite memories of Granny. That didn't take long. My favorite memory of Granny was her smile. Just that slight grin that she always had. From the moment she saw you, whether it was at her house or the Ball Diamond, she was always happy to see you. I recall one time when Jill and I visited, she was reminiscing about her time on the farm. And we were talking about the wind because it must have been howling, which it usually does. She was reminiscing about how the tumbleweeds would blow into the caraganas. And she told us, and she explained to us how she'd go out there with a torch and light these tumbleweeds right up. Right in the caraganas. She said neighbors would stop by, be like, "Theresa, you're gonna burn the countryside down." Of course, she brushes that aside. I'm sure the neighbor didn't even have to ask what she was doing because, like Kristen says, she was very free with the information. And she let you know how she felt. But she was explaining this, how she'd go out there and burn them. And then, when she finished that story, I honestly saw the biggest smile on her face I've ever seen. And I quote, "I just love doing that. I just love to burn things." It seemed like she had a fire going every day when we were out there. And Kyle said, "Yeah, I don't even think she had to relight it the next day. She just threw more branches on." And that's honestly one of the best memories I have of her. Granny, you are the toughest woman I've ever known. With one of the most delicate of smiles, both of which will never be forgotten.
All right. I'm Daniel, one of the middle grandchildren. My earliest memories of Granny are on the farm. I have very fond memories of playing in the dry dirt with the cousins and the farm dogs. My earliest memory alone with Granny is picking raspberries with her and eating them with ice cream. When she moved into the city, I have memories of rollerblading the sidewalks of Lethbridge with cousins and siblings. Summer in Lethbridge meant cable TV, baseball, and way too much candy. I was what some would call a misbehaved child, but Granny always accepted me for me. We'd argue lots, but somehow always managed to get along. She'd buy me a box of 100 ice cream treats at Costco, but relentlessly questioned my desire to go to Frank's Corner Store for a snowbob. She taught me the art of negotiation. She taught me that sometimes you have to do things you don't want to do. We once trimmed hedges and mowed grass at the farm, and I learned that a glass of water after some hard work tastes better. She taught me that you don't have to wear a seatbelt in the back seat. Just rest your eyes, she'd say. While sitting in the car waiting for Grandpa, she taught me natural light is best for tweezing your eyebrows and your chin hair. She taught me lessons in beauty and patience. And I'm sorry I didn't get a haircut today, Granny. As an aside with the beauty, Granny would often tell me I have beautiful legs and I should have been a girl. Granny got a lot of her knowledge from the hair salon, but somehow I still learned from all these lessons. She taught me to never try the grapefruit diet, as it will work for a month, but it is not sustainable. She'd offer me a piece of apple pie for breakfast before I even had a chance to say good morning. I once hid a piece of apple pie in the back of the fridge so it looked like I ate it for breakfast. She found it. She taught me the value of telling the truth. One time in the summer, I went with her to pick raspberries. I tried to impress her and I filled 3 buckets without complaining. The next day on the phone, I overheard her say, "Daniel picked 3 buckets all on his own." For a moment, I thought I might be her favorite. Then she frequently started calling me Landon, and I thought Landon was her favorite. And then she got Sandy, and Sandy was her favorite. And then I realized that Granny had a special way of making all of us feel like her favorite. And when you look at all the kids, grandkids, and great-grandkids, she had a really special talent for making us all feel special. When I would leave from my visits with Granny, I'd always plan an extra 50 minutes for refusing her offerings. Sometimes I accepted and went home with an apple pie, a box of cereal, a tie clip, a watch, sometimes a lamp, and a whole new wardrobe. Granny often had a strange way of showing love, but I think these offerings were her way of sending you on your way with love. When I'd finally get in the car and pull out of the driveway at 3722 Forestry Ave, it was the wave from the window with her standing with Sandy that melted my heart, because I knew that I'd always have her as a special person in this world that would love me no matter what. When I visited Granny before Christmas, I got a picture with her by the Christmas tree. She asked me to sit on her lap. It made me smile, and I didn't argue, because one last time, Granny made me feel like I was her favorite. Thanks.
So I guess I'll continue with the lessons, and we'll go with lesson 142, how to properly evaluate kitchen skills. Of course, you're always a little nervous when you first introduce your girlfriend to Granny. She had a habit of being a little bit too honest, as we've already heard. But there's one specific moment that I knew my wife had gained Granny's ultimate approval. Granny was cooking up one of her delicious turkey dinners. I knew how it worked. I would offer to help. She would probably say no, or she might send me down to the depths of her deep freeze to grab something. But it was rare that she would let anybody else touch the food. Of course, my amazing wife, Amber, offers to help cut the celery for the stuffing. Oh, no, I'm good. So, a few minutes pass. Granny continues working furiously on the dinner. She slowly turns around and looks at Amber. But if you were to cut the stuffing, how would you do it? And I guess whatever Granny approved method that Amber shared passed the test. Okay, you go ahead and cut the celery then. And to me, although I don't know if she meant to be, but Granny was one of the funniest people I knew. She had a way of making her house always feel like a welcoming home, no matter if it was the farm or her house in Lethbridge or even at the Black Rock. You knew what to expect. She was always predictable. When you'd walk into her home, she'd always greet you with a welcoming hug and offer something to eat, even if she knew you had just gone out for dinner. And you could almost guarantee an honest comment about how you looked. And that's why it was very wise to always look your best around Granny. But no matter where she was, I always felt comforted by being around her. Even today, I can still picture walking in to her home, her smiling in her chair, and I immediately feel her warming home fill my heart with warmth and love. I'll miss you, Granny.
Upon hearing the news of Granny's passing, memories start flooding in. I'm transported back to the farm in the dead, dry heat of the summer, picking raspberries from the biggest patch I've ever seen. Granny looking beautiful in a scarf. I'm a kid, waiting for her to arrive at her house, seeing their car drive up the driveway, unable to contain my excitement. Watching her bring in her suitcase, unpack her bags, everything perfectly organized, her pajamas laid flat on top, with her toiletries and sleeping cap right next to it. She wasn't one to dig through her bag at the last minute like an idiot. I'm in grade 6, and she's sitting in a chair in Eden's change rooms, helping me find back to school clothes so I would look stylish when I went into junior high. She'd say, if something fits and it looks good, you should buy one in every color. One time visiting Granny as an adult, she came to the conclusion very quickly that I needed a haircut, so she immediately called the hair salon down the street. Hi, this is Theresa Papworth calling. I'd like to make an appointment for my granddaughter. She'll walk over. She set it up right away. She made sure I left ample time to get there, and she gave me $35 to put in my pocket. The people working there were a bit confused when I walk in. "Oh, you're Theresa Papworth's granddaughter. Oh, we thought you would be about 11 years old." I think when I walked into their house, I felt like a kid again, always. Comforting by the familiar photos on the mantle, and it was more than just being well-fed or having unlimited access to pop. It was somewhere where you were loved unconditionally and always felt safe. What do these small stories tell us about Granny? Well, she was organized beyond belief. She never procrastinated. She was driven and could accomplish anything she set out to do. She loved her family. Once I said that at one time that I wasn't sure if I wanted children, and she was absolutely shocked. She said, "Well, your life would be meaningless." I tried to argue, of course, because obviously that wouldn't be true. But that comment made it pretty clear what was meaningful in her life. Granny will live on in me when I pack my suitcase, pajamas on top, when I catch myself procrastinating, when I buy the same pants in black and navy. I just hope I can create a safe, welcoming, and loving home to my own family. Thank you, Granny. You will be with me always.
There were many days during my summer break off school that I would have spent down at Granny's. I usually sat in front of the TV, eating ham sandwiches or fried chicken with a slice of apple pie for dessert. On one of my last visits to Granny's house on Forestry Avenue, I asked Granny if she could show me how to make her fried chicken. She told me that we would both wake up the next morning early and cook it together. So I went to bed early that night, wanting to impress Granny that I could get up and cook with her. I got up at about 7:30 or 8 a.m., which was extremely early at Granny's for a grandchild, and ran upstairs. Granny was sitting in her chair having her breakfast already, and I asked her if she was ready to cook. She told me she had already woke up at 5 a.m. with excitement, and she'd already cooked all the fried chicken. It just goes to show you how well Granny took care of any visitor in her household.
The most influential piece of advice I'll take away from my memories of Grandma is to always be yourself and don't give a damn about what anyone else thinks. Everyone's personality is special, so you shouldn't ever succumb to peer pressure. My grandma's house was a second home to me, and she would do anything for all us grandchildren. I remember Randy, Georgia, and I getting up to various events in the basement, such as a nightclub, a restaurant, etc. And then we would freeze when we saw the shadow of Grandma coming down the stairs backwards. We knew we were doing something really weird, but she never really cared, as long as we were having fun. I hope she knew how much I appreciated that, even if I didn't show my appreciation as much as I should have.
Hello, I brought a prop. This is my first memory of my granny. She made me this blanket, and I took it everywhere. I'm sure if you knew me as a child, it was in my hands. So I have many memories of my granny, but the one thing that we shared in common is fashion, but you know, different fashion. I was about short skirts, and she was about pantyhose. And I was lucky enough that when she moved into Black Rock, I was bestowed many of her great creations. And the dress that I'm wearing is one of them. If you have any questions, you can ask Cynthia, because I know nothing about it. So I spent lots of summers at Granny's house, as many of the grandkids did. And as many of them mentioned, it was all about the cable TV and watching Family Channel, because what are grandparents for if not to give you the things your parents won't? So I also have lots of memories, as I'm sure many of you do, of getting yelled at by Granny. And, but I'm sure none of you have the great honor of being mistaken for a dog. So she decided to name her dog Sandy. My name is Randy. You can tell that when that word is being yelled across the entire household, it tends to get mistaken. So that was a great memory. And towards the end, I heard most about my granny, Theresa, from my dad's arguments with her about her hearing. Now, Granny thought that her hearing was perfect until the day she died. My dad would say otherwise. But I didn't find this annoying. I thought it was quite entertaining because every time Theresa would tell you a story, you had to separate the fact from the fiction. So it was a giant game of family telephone because you never knew if what you were hearing was true or not. So I'll cherish all of these memories, and yeah, thank you, Granny.
I remember the time I came down to Lethbridge with my dad and I got sick with the flu. And my dad, being the very caring dad that he was, he went to the farm and abandoned me there. But he actually left me in some of the best hands for being nursed back to health. And I sat in the beanbag all weekend and she brought me food and medicine. And I'll always remember her stubbornness, her cookies, her sense of humor, and her awesome house. That was just my second home for sure. And I hope that I can have some of her drive and determination that I love so much about her. Thank you. And thank you for Sandy, too.
Don't go anywhere, please. That was wonderful. And when we think of Theresa and we think of Dick, look at this visual. Look at them. Well done. Brava, Theresa, brava. All right, you guys can sit down now. The family told me that when Dick was still alive, that Trevor Pansiak sat with him and played music to find something that Dick would find comforting and soothing, and that has always meant a great deal to the family. And Trevor is here with us today, and he's going to share some music with us. Thanks, Trevor. clap. We are celebrating, and we celebrate wonderful music. Thank you, Trevor. I'm sorry for all the snarky things I said about country music before the service. He's actually really good. We spoke, when I met with the family this week, we spoke about readings, and we talked about Theresa's understanding. She certainly had a sense of the divine in her life. But we felt it was more appropriate for Theresa if we read a piece of poetry. Theresa lived her life to the fullest and was grateful for the family that she had and for all the busy love that she expressed. And so this poem speaks to us about mortality and the great gift that it truly is to be mortal. So this is The Cost by Dorothy Monroe. Death is not too high a price to pay for having lived. Mountains never die, nor do the seas or rocks or endless sky. Through countless centuries of time, they stay eternal, deathless, yet they never live. If choice were there, I would not hesitate to choose mortality. Whatever fate demanded in return for life, I'd give. For never to have seen the fertile plains, nor heard the winds, nor felt the warm sun on sands beneath the salty sea, nor touched the hands of those I love. Without these, all the gains of timelessness would not be worth a day of living and of loving, come what may. I would invite us now into a prayer of gratitude, a prayer of thanksgiving. Gracious and loving God, we thank you for all the blessings of life, for watching over us in death, and for all the ways in which we come to know your love. We thank you for those who share our lives, for families and loved ones, for caregivers and companions, for friends and neighbors. We are especially grateful, God, for Karen Orstrup, who was a faithful, loving caregiver, not only to Theresa, but for Dick as well. Especially today, we thank you for Theresa. We praise you for the gift of her life, for all in her that was generous and kind, for all the true words spoken by her, for the love she gave and received, for all that lives on through those who knew and loved her. We thank you that for Theresa, death is past, pain is ended, and she has entered into the joy of your presence. Comforting and caring God, we pray for the family and friends of Theresa and for all who feel this loss. May they know the comfort of your love through the support of others and the peace of your presence. And guide us all as we seek to offer support and care, healing and hope to those who feel this loss. Strong and tender God, in Jesus you share the joy and sorrow of this life. And so we pray also today for all others who know suffering and pain. We are grateful for the goodness and love that is extended to us, piercing the cloud of our sadness as stars pierce through the sky at night. When joy does not resonate in our hearts, may we lean on the goodness of these gifts. May they help us believe that this too shall pass. This time is not forever, and joy will return and sing in our hearts once again. We turn to you, God, as to a parent who loves us, and we pray together the words taught by Jesus, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Just before I call Trevor back, and you might want to join me, we're going to see a slide presentation that the family has presented. I just think these are wonderful, and the type of glasses we wore seemed to stand out more than anything in these things. But let's enjoy this wonderful tribute, video tribute to Theresa, and then we'll hear from Trevor once again.
May all your friends be true. Everything you do feel right. May all your morning windows be filled with sweet sunlight. May you always walk with pride. May you never stumble and fall. May every dream you want come true. I wish for it all. I know it's just a wish, and they sometimes don't come true. But that won't stop me wishing, 'cause that's what mothers do. May you smile and laugh each day. May there be tears that touch you too. And may all your troubles seem like things that you can get through. And when you feel you're lost, may a path appear. May you in your darkest hour know that somewhere love is near. I know it's just a wish, and they sometimes don't come true. But that won't stop me wishing, 'cause that's what mothers do. I know that people can be cruel. I know that life's not always fair, and the odds aren't good you love someone who doesn't really care. But may you not love them for long. May they fade into the past. May it be the one you learn from before you find the one that lasts. I know it's just a wish, and they sometimes don't come true. But that won't stop me wishing, 'cause that's what mothers do. That's what mothers do. in the music for hours. Honey, you can get lost in a room. We can play music for hours and hours, but the sun will still be coming up soon. The world's just spinning a little too fast. If things don't slow down soon, we might not last. So just for a moment, let's be still.
You can get lost in the music for hours, honey. You can get lost in a room. We can play music for hours and hours, but the sun will still be coming up soon.
The world's not forgiving of everyone's fears. The days turn into months, the months turn into years. So just for a moment, let's be still. They're tearing down so we can rebuild. And all of this time is just circles in my mind. So just for a moment, just for one moment, just for a moment, let's be still. 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 Ain't no time left for me. Got me seeing so clearly. Ain't no time for me. No, the world's just spinning a little too fast. If things don't slow down soon, we might not last. The world's not forgiving of everyone's fears. The days turn into months, the months turn into years. So just for a moment, let's be still. 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 Just for a moment, let's be still.
way up high. dreams that you dream of, dreams really do come true. Ooh, someday you wish upon a star, wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where trouble melts like lemon drops high above the chimney top. That's where you find me, oh, somewhere over the rainbow. Bluebirds fly, and the dreams that you dare to, oh why can't I? Someday I wish upon a star, wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where trouble melts like a lemon drops high above the chimney top. That's where you find me, oh, somewhere over the rainbow, way up high. And the dreams that you dare to, why, oh why can't I?
Tell me, what does it look like in heaven? Is it peaceful? Is it free like they say? Does the sun shine bright forever? Have your fears and your pain gone away? 'Cause here on earth it feels like everything good is missing since you left. And here on earth everything's different. There's an emptiness. Oh, I hope you're dancing in the sky. I hope you're singing in the angels' choir. And I hope the angels know what they have. I'll bet it's so nice up in heaven since you arrived. So tell me, what do you do up in heaven? All your days filled with love and light. Is there music? Is there art and invention? Tell me, are you happy? Are you more alive? 'Cause here on earth it feels like everything good is missing since you left. And here on earth everything's different. There's an emptiness. Oh, I hope you're dancing in the sky. And I hope you're singing in the angels' choir. And I hope the angels know what they have. some nights up in heaven since you arrived. I hope you're dancing in the sky, and I hope you're singing in the angels' choir, and I hope the angels know what they have. I've been some nights up in heaven since you arrived, since you arrived.
dead in the Archmount Cemetery. So I've taken something that Theresa created, something that she held, and something that kept someone she loved born. As I say our words. The spirit of Theresa Papworth shall not know the blight of mortality, and it shall live on in the lives made real by her glorious and gracious presence. For love is stronger than death. So reverently, gently, and lovingly, we let you go, Theresa, into the dance of the stars and the planets. We let you go into the wind's breath and the hands of God. We let you go. Go forth from this world, Theresa, in the love of God who created you, in the peace of Jesus who liberated you, in the power of the Holy Spirit who strengthened you. May your place today be found in peace, and may your dwelling be forever within the heart of God. Amen. And I offer to all of you, may the road rise to meet you, may the wind be always at your backs, may the sun shine warm upon your face and the rains fall soft upon your fields. Until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of God's hand. Amen.
Looks like we're scared to death, like a couple of kids just trying to save each other. Should have seen it in the color. That one was overseas, 1943. Almost seen my looks like we were scared to death, like a couple of kids just trying to save each other. Should have seen it in color. A picture's worth 1,000 words, but you can't see what those shades of green keep covered. Should have seen it in color. A picture's worth 1,000 words, but you can't see what those shades of gray keep covered. You should have seen it in color.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time I ask the congregation to rise. Those who wish, please feel free to come forward for the reception. Those who would like some fresh air quickly, feel free to exit through the back and come back in. Thank you so much.